you're trying to serve the ball and you hit it too hard, so you get a fault and you're not like landing in the zone, then you start thinking, oh, I need to do that. I need to correct my serve by hitting it less hard or angling it down, whatever it is. I don't know. You're telling yourself what you need to do. And the problem with that is you tend to tense up when you tell yourself to do something. Just like if you tell yourself in the middle of a match, I have to fucking anti-air this guy, I'm going to lose. Like, you're going to get jumped in on and die. Yep. So the suggestion is, like, rather than telling yourself what to do, you have to just observe without any kind of judgment and say, oh, this guy's jumping a lot, and trust yourself to make the adjustment. They say to visualize the situation, right? So if you're tennis, you're serving and the ball just lands in the court, or Street Fighter, you land the anti-air. I am aphantasic. I can't visualize anything, so I struggle sometimes there and try to just conceptually think about they're jumping a lot and trust myself, even though I can't see it, that I'm going to do the right thing. It doesn't always work, but it keeps you present in the moment, observing the game instead of like thinking about the things you're doing wrong, which is like a spiral of death where you just lose the set because you're too busy like being mad at yourself when you're not listening to the game anymore.
Hello, and welcome to the Absolute Guard Podcast. We're a competitive fighting game community podcast examining history and current events from the lens of the Arizona grassroots scene.
Yes, welcome. This is episode 94. My name is Benny, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Jon. Today, we are joined by one of our local players, Mr. Shogberg. How are you doing today, Shogberg?
Pretty good. Been looking forward to this all week, so it's arrived, and it's time to do it.
Nice. Yeah, we've been looking forward to it. It's been a while. When was the last episode we did, Jon? I know it was with AZ Young.
8 months ago. Wait, no, that's all right. That's all right. 2 months ago. 2 months ago.
Okay. Yeah. So we've been here and there, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. For the beginning, typically what we do is we're gonna learn a little bit about our guest. So let's start first. I like to know the origin of your gamer tag, whether you think it's meaningful or not, or whether you think it's stupid. I want to know, where does that come from and why?
So it's like a simple story that I think works well, but it really is just a play on my name, it's my last name and my first initial, but it sounds cool, and that's, people refer to me like going back to high school football, I think, if not longer. So it just kind of stuck. I never really latched on to anything with greater meaning than that, but people ask me where it comes from all the time, so they don't know I'm just doxing myself 24/7.
But your first name is Sean, right? So Sean Hogberg.
Yeah.
Right. So it works too, because it's Shog. Sean and Shog. So I think that works. People might get like, is it a Heisenberg thing?
Yeah.
Or, something along those lines. I'm sure you probably got that in the past. I always think I think it's fine, because it's like you got big names in the FGC that go by their actual names. Like, some people don't have any tags other than their online personas. And they just Justin Wong, Mike Ross, those kind of people. So
I like it. It feels kind of personal. The only worry ever really is just like if I'm playing a game on my lunch break, when I am at work, am I gonna get found? But
yeah, or the dreaded I added my coworkers to my Steam's friends list, right?
Yep.
Oh man,
that's why we're permanently offline.
Permanently invisible, dude. Oh man, yeah. And I've also seen the alternate version of it, like the alternate dimension of it, Swine City.
Yeah,
that's incredibly creative.
That was fun. I wish I could take the creative credit for that, but me and my buddy used to play a lot of Yahoo Scrabble. I think it was called Literati or something. But at some point, we're playing like a 3 or 4 person game, and I think I was winning, or I don't, whatever it was, but just some random guy to try to talk shit was like, well, okay, Swine City. And I was like, hey, that's offensive. And then I was like, hey, actually, that's pretty fire. So I'm keeping that name.
I actually didn't even put those two together until John just said it right now.
Yeah, because once the lore is my last name's Hogberg, right? You can put it together. But when it's Shogberg, you don't really see it necessarily.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's reclaiming that, right? It's you're getting bullied, so you reclaim it or something.
Yeah. Take ownership of it, and then it has no meaning to them, right? Right. It has no power. It has no power over you. Like, I am Swine City.
Turns out I am. Yep.
All All right, cool. In terms of fighting games, like I've known you personally just from playing Street Fighter 6. What was your origin? Where did you get started playing fighting games?
So I think the initial start was like Street Fighter 2 on Super Nintendo when I was like 8 or 9 years old whenever it came out. I'm 40, so I can't do the math, but I was probably like 7 or something when it came out. I'd play against my neighbor all the time, right? He'd play Chun-Li and I'd play whoever, and I always lost because Chun-Li has an air throw and I didn't know what to do other than jump at people. So I took a lot of beatings there for years and then kind of fell off for a while until Street Fighter 4 came out. And I don't really remember why it sparked my interest, but me and my best friend both got it and basically just played each other because netcode was terrible and we weren't really like aware that locals scenes were a thing or anything. So we played thousands of matches against each other and have no idea what the mechanics actually are, how they work. But the interesting thing about playing that way is you learn really quick to like look for patterns in your opponent's play, and the meta shifts a lot, right? So I feel like that's a good skill to start with, even if you don't know how the game plays, because you can always learn the mechanics later. So we played that for a while.
Who like between the two of you, like you have a rival, like who's the Ryu and who's the Ken?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think I started off as the Ryu, but I definitely didn't end it. And I think it was partially a knowledge gap because you had to go on like SRK forums back then. And you learn some things like, oh, you should do Oki. And so you do, right? But when your opponent wakes up DP every time, you're like, why do these people say Oki is good? I'm just getting killed for this shit. Without any like further context, like I don't know. So I know I really took my beatings at the tail end of that, like really bad. And then that was retired for a while until Street Fighter 5 came out, which we both got back into and kind of renewed the rivalry. I think I mostly got the better of him. He was playing Birdie at the time and also still unplugged from the scene, so I didn't realize Birdie was pretty strong at release. But we went back and forth on that. He didn't love the game too much, so.
Gotcha. Okay. Were you in Arizona at this time, or were you somewhere else?
Yeah, I've been in Arizona since 98 or so.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. But we never made it out for locals or anything. Played on and off a bit. Played online quite a bit and would take a couple years off, play for a while. And towards the tail end of that, I was really trying to bait my buddy into playing me again. So I was like recording ridiculous wrestling style promos and just like clipping our matches and totally editing it to make it look like I just beat the shit out of them, and like just posting it to all of our friends and saying like I challenge you, and you didn't take me up on it, but yeah, bait unsuccessful. Lots of fun, but towards the end of that, I think pandemic happened. I got back into the game as something to do, and towards the tail end of probably 2022-ish. I think I, at that point, found like the locals Facebook group or something and was planning on participating in an online tournament. And as much now, this is like embarrassing to say, but it's also, I think, very relatable that I think I got really intimidated looking at the rankings and stuff and went, I'm not doing this right now. There's no chance I could compete. But I did tell myself Street Fighter 6 was coming out in a year. So I didn't want to put it. I knew if I started playing seriously or competitively, I'd get really into it, and I didn't want to burn out before Street Fighter 6 came out.
That's fair.
I wasn't sure if I'd stick with it because I was usually very much like play 6 months and then put it down for a year. So
gotcha. Okay,
that's the origin.
I was gonna say I know plenty of people like not that I don't think that you're that type of person, but I've seen plenty of people come to tournaments, and can kind of have expectations for themselves and then not do well. And then that kind of deters them. And like, there's plenty of people that I've seen one time and I've never seen them again. And I always wonder kind of like, what was their mentality coming in? Like, was it just a matter of, well, I just got humbled and, this isn't for me? Because like, I know people that have come in and then just like, they go O2 plenty of times and then they have that breakthrough and it's like, it's monumental for them. Like that's a huge shift in their competitiveness, but they continue to come out. So yeah, I found that. So you didn't come out for anything for Street Fighter 5 at all?
No, I almost didn't quite. I will also say during that time, I had a bunch of life changes. I mean, I think everyone at that time did, right? But
sure, yeah.
And I think that you guys were running stuff at Film Bar at the time, and I actually like was living pretty close to there, and I just, you know, same kind of thing, like just psyched myself out of doing it talked myself out of going every time, and now I'm kind of like, you know, damn, that's too bad. But, you know, like,
oh no, it's better late than never. I mean, I just look at it as more like, because when it came to 5, I played basically like the first, I think, 3 years, and then I kind of just stopped playing, or didn't play as much, and then there was kind of like a big hiatus, and then I came back, you know, because Jon was playing, and he was, you know, then I would, you know, I didn't like Honda came out, I didn't like Honda, and I was just like, yeah, I'll play Ed. I learned Ed, and at that time, like, I guess Sim was top tier, and like he was just getting better and better as the game went on, and I was just like, wasn't super interested in playing him, but I guess that would have been the perfect time to really play him.
Yeah. Did you play Sim in 4, or were you just Honda?
No,
mostly?
I was a Honda main all throughout, and then with him not coming out in 5, it was like, I don't know who I'm going to play, and it was originally going to be Cammy, I thought, and then I saw the Sim trailer for 5, and I was just like, he looks dope, I'm going to play him, and like everybody had questions and were like, what, you're playing him? You know, after playing Honda. Jon, Scott, everybody had you know, were second guessing like whether that was, you know, whether I was going to be able to do decently well.
Yeah. It went from like, you know, one of the lower execution level characters to the highest one, and I was like, wow, Benny, you're really biting off a lot there. Is that cool? And then you stuck with it, and I think it actually transformed your play style.
Yeah, I'm not a Honda main no more.
Yeah.
Hey, so fast forward to Street Fighter 6, that comes out. I'm trying to think, like, did you come out to any of like the launch events, or was it like the beta? Like, how did you get into like the Discord and all that stuff other than the Facebook group?
I think I was in the Discord pre-launch for the Street Fighter 5 stuff at the tail end, but I wasn't really participating. So I was kind of around. At the time, I had just started a new job I didn't stick with very long, but the hours were weird, so I didn't make it out very early. I know too, like, credit to Maynard, who invited me out so many times, and, you know, remains, like, I think such a credit to the scene for his ability to engage people and get them coming out and staying coming out. And like the experience of dealing with him as a community representative and TO was a sharp contrast to, like, when we went to Game On this year. My partner Kim decided to do the Mario Kart tournament, and she plays Mario Kart very good, but doesn't really do much competitively. And the bracket runners there were just kind of jerks and cold and hostile, and she didn't like made it to the second, third round, whatever, and kind of just walked away because the experience of playing was so bad. The experience of dealing with the TO was so bad. So it in retrospect made me really, even though I didn't come out early, it really made me appreciate like the effort to, you know, make people feel at home and bring people out. But it was kind of tough. I think a lot of the first year events happened on ASU home football days. I had season tickets to take my dad to. Okay. So I missed most of them, and didn't really start coming out, I think, till the beginning of the following year, I guess 2024.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, because looking at it, I looked at the Discord real quick. It says you joined in September 15, 2021. Yeah. And then, I don't know when the beta started, but Street Fighter 6 release date was June of 2023. So, basically about almost 2 years.
That sounds about right. Yeah. I joined for the online tournaments and then psyched myself out. But I think there's a lot of maturity that you need to compete. For those reasons kind of discussed, like, you know that some people are going to be better than you, and that could be hard to face for some people. And I'm not saying that necessarily was for me, but it definitely has been at times in my life that, you know, as I get older now, it's like, it's not really about, it is about the win or loss at the end of the day. Like, you want to win, but there's more to it than that, you know? So that helped me get out.
It's all about the friends you make along the way.
Yeah. Well, it's a good reason to stick around the tournament and hang out and shit with your friends when you're out, and learn some stuff, and then go get some food, or, you know, hang out.
Yeah, that's something that's something that I've always thought about in terms of like whether people are really kind of inherently competitive or not, or whether that's something you can kind of like cultivate in people, because I feel there's always going to be some people that just don't know how to deal with losing and being humbled.
It's hard.
It's a tough thing for some people to swallow. And I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into it, depending, like if their background, like if you're the top athlete in your school and you've been winning all your life, and then you go into some arena and all of a sudden you're not the best guy there, like that's a tough pill to swallow for anybody.
Yeah.
That's typically the mentality, like, oh yeah, I've been beating up the neighborhood kids, and then you go to somebody else's house and you get beat up, and you're just like, you're not used to that feeling, like you don't know what to do with yourself then.
It's a big difference between like a decent competitive player and like the best casual player. Like that's a 5-0 matchup generally, in my opinion. It's humbling if you're trying to bridge that gap.
I also want to bring up too that like that's not like a one and done either, where it's a continuous fight where you will always eventually need to put yourself in a position where you're playing people who are way better than you, are going to curb stomp you. Even even if you win your local, right? Like you still have to then put yourself on the national level and then get fucked by those people and make relationships with them so that way you can get better, right? And I think the best players are the ones who can swallow that pill over and over and over again. And I don't even think that I have that in me nowadays, where it's like continuously putting yourself out there and continuously eating shit and being willing to pick yourself up afterwards,
It's tough. But also I guess the I don't know, redemption arc of that is I remember like very clearly when I picked up 6, I just really wanted to get like platinum, diamond. I made it to like gold in Street Fighter 5, right? And I wasn't really thinking about it competitively at the time. And I hadn't had a chance to get out to locals, but I would sometimes jump in lobbies on the weekends with people. And I know like playing, I think I was a platinum in July, or it might have even been June or whatever it was, and playing Dragon Ninja, and he beat my ass. He was a master player, but I took a round from him. I was like, oh shit, like I could get to master, and playing Freezy then, it was like Diamond Kimberly, and I'd take some games from a Diamond player, this Diamond player Freezy, and I'm like, I'm great. And that just aged like wine. So but yeah, that, and then going to TGZ the first time, I think playing Chase for the first time, and I got 10-0'd, and I was like, oh shit, this sucks, and thought about the set and he played someone else, came back and got 10-1, and I was like, this is great progress. And I think you got to kind of do that, because otherwise you have to look at it that way. You don't bridge that gap in like a day or a month. Maybe not even in a year. So
yeah, you talked about like your origins being Super Nintendo, like Street Fighter 2, and like I think about there was a moment, like I used to live in this kind of fourplex when I first moved out, right? And they used to have house parties because the rest of it was filled by like family friends, and we went to, it was a house party, basically a whole fourplex open, everybody's place is open. Go into one room and I see there's an NES sitting around, and I was like, oh, somebody want to play? And like I didn't think I was anything great, I played Street Fighter 2 all the time, and then like one of the other guys, yeah, sure, I'll play you. He plays Ryu, I play Guile, and like I don't know, it's probably like 2/3 wins for him, but like for me, like I'm just the type of person, like I'm just gonna, ready up, rematch, let's go, let's keep going. Like I'm not gonna sit there and just, let you destroy me or whatever, and just take it sitting down. Like I'm gonna be like, if I'm down 50-20, I want to keep playing till we get to 50-50. You know what I mean? Like I want to keep going. Like I think I can get there. Like I don't ever have that mentality where I'm just like, you know what, this could be 120. Like I feel like I'm gonna even this up eventually. Like just give me more time.
Yeah, you got to figure something out, and you got to start small, and it starts with a round win or something, right? And then you get the game win.
Exactly. Oh, I took a game, 10-1 instead of a 10-0. Like that's a win. I mean that was John kicking my ass in this game. In the beginning, he was like 20-0s against his Chun-Li, and then I was just like, hey man, I took 2 games this time. Like all right.
And you figured it out by the end, where I think you beat me in the first 2, if I recall correctly, or first 3.
There were some sets that
figured it out.
But it was definitely a journey. But yeah, I mean, you have to go through those kind of growing pains and be willing to go through those growing pains in order to get better. Like regardless of your background, and I've heard of other people, like I've played other games competitively, or I played sports competitively, and I know what it takes to get to this level. But yeah. I mean, video games, I think, is a whole different kind of thing too. But same kind of concept though.
To just kind of circle back, I just said circle back. God damn it. But to bring it back to that topic about like, you know, trying to come out, but then not, you know, being intimidated or anything like that, right? I do think that there's a degree of like artistic expression that I think that comes from playing these games, and there's a degree of identity that comes from playing these games too. Like even like you'll even see people bond over like playing the same character, right? Like as a competitor, you inherently have to put yourself into your play, and the character is a representation of who you are in a lot of ways. And I get it. At the end of the day, like you shouldn't tie your identity to the outcome of a fucking video game match, but to be a competitor and to really want it enough, yeah, you do kind of have to put some of your identity into it. And I think that can be incredibly daunting if you are going from never putting yourself out there to suddenly putting yourself out there for the entire world to beat up on you. And like in like the local scene or the national scene or online, even, you know, you can see there's a lot of I have my own stories about times when I was gonna come out to play and join the local scene and then backed off because I was like, I'm not good enough, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the exact phrasing though, is I'm not good enough. It's an identity thing, and it's a that can really like tug at the heartstrings if you take a heavy loss, you know.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
If you don't feel those losses, though, you're probably not going to be able to put in the effort to get better and get the wins. So you kind of have to like open yourself up to the bad feelings to get the good feelings too. And if you don't, you know, you have to enjoy both. You don't have to enjoy the bad feelings, but you have to sit with them so you can enjoy the good feelings later.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's a very, very humbling thing, and it's something that it's not made for everybody. And then if you think about it, like video games inherently I don't know if it's inherently, but in general, like when people think of video games, people think of like people that are introverted and don't want to be social, you know, in public, in person. Online's one thing. I mean, there's plenty of online warriors that have never stepped foot at a local or at an Evo or anything, and they just play online, and they're perfectly happy to do that, and you know, just rank monster it up, and you'll probably never see their face. But I mean, that's their choice, and that's perfectly fine. But it's I don't know.
As I've gotten older, like rather when I was younger, I used to think like, oh, these people don't want to take it to the next level, and it was just like a linear thing as far as like you're either a casual or you're good, or like there wasn't any in between, and there wasn't like the idea of being able to play but not necessarily play competitively. That just didn't compute to me, because I'm just like, if you're not gonna put your all into it, then why bother? But then as I've gotten older, I'm like, I don't have the bandwidth to put my all into this, and it's I don't know, it's just, and it's an interesting dynamic where it feels like almost like a catch-22.
Well, I mean, that's been the talk of like Twitter recently too, in terms of like with the recent EWC, the Esports World Cup, and Blah's doing good, and people, you know, I think it mainly came from like Tekken 2, where people are just like, well, how can you be good at these games? It's like, you got to spend all this time and spend all these hours, and I'm just like, and people, you know, of course, there's the family guys that are coming out. Well, I have a job, and I have kids, and I have this, and I'm just like, yeah, and that's fine, and it's just like, and like you said, like a lot of people just see it as either you're all in and doing this and you're trying to get to the top of that mountaintop, or you're just a casual. And it's just like, no, there's plenty of people that are in the middle ground, and that are perfectly happy being in the middle ground. That's kind of where I've been for years. And like, it's more like, could I put more time into this? Sure, but I don't necessarily want to, and I don't necessarily, you know, have to, and be happy about it. Like, I'm happy with the progress that I make. I'm happy with you know, my ability to play and stay competitive, even though, but like the only downside to me right now is like my work schedule. I can't make it to events. Like, I miss going to tournaments. I used to go to tournaments every Saturday, like every event I was there with my kids, whatever. Nowadays I can't do that, and it's frustrating because it's like I want to compete. Like, I want to go play. I want to put myself out there. I want to have stream highlights and whatever, and you know, get commentators hype. I want to do all that kind of stuff, but I can't. And it's just like, that's probably the biggest frustration for me as I've gotten older, and I don't have the time.
Yeah, priorities are weird. You could do it. Yeah, I think. Well, there's probably an age where you can't do it anymore, but it's less an age thing. It's just you have more competing priorities as you get older. Whether that's because you have kids that you want to spend time with, or other obligations, or it could be hard to actually want to sit down and do the work you need to do to hit the level, whatever that level you have in mind. You have to work for it. And it's hard to sit in training mode and grind out execution and drills after you just spent 8 hours working, and you just want to numb your mind and hit some buttons.
I feel like it makes me think, like, you talk about getting older and people playing, and I feel like there's kind of like this crest where, like, you get to a certain age and, like, people will give you the benefit of the doubt, and, like, if you're like 65 and going to Evo, like, holy shit, there's a grandma here, and they don't expect anything at all from you, and if you could take a round from somebody, like, you're going viral or whatever, right? The other person's never gonna live that down. Like, I can't believe that person just defeated you. Like, what happened? You know what I mean? So, like, there's that crest or that hill where you kind of get, and people are just don't have any expectations for you.
I also think that as you're like, you're juggling more and more competing priorities, you become more and more sensitive to when your time is wasted. And to me, that means, like, my temper is shorter, because I'm like, I have a limited amount of time to do this, and if I lose, and that's a sign that I'm not training right, and I've wasted this time, and that's a logical fallacy, but that's where my emotions go when I'm super frustrated, and I'm like, man, I should have put more time into this, but I can't, and then I end up getting upset about that, and it's that ties back into the, like, coming out to the competitive scene for the first time, where it's like, do I want to have exposed to myself that I have wasted all this time by not practicing correctly, by getting my ass beat, and that's really tough as an adult, I think, compared to, like, when I was in my 20s,
I think also, though, I do agree that I think it could be hard to separate that ego check as you get older. Because you have other stuff that you're, like, really good at, probably by the time you're mid 30s, you probably have something you're really good at. Maybe it's Street Fighter, it might be something else. So it's hard to, like, I'm not the best at this. But I also think as you get older, you kind of probably have more tools to be able to look back and say, like, it's not necessarily about the results. You might still have to remind yourself that constantly, that it's not all about the results, but sometimes it's just about the pursuit of, like, working on a skill. And that's kind of, I don't want to say it's more important, because if I'm playing a tournament, I don't feel that way. But right now, that's the more important part. It's just like, I'll never be Punk, or I'll never be a EWC champion, but I can still get a lot better than I am today. So that's, how I try to look at it when I'm not actively in a competition, in which case a very different mindset required. But
yeah, I mean, it's the journey. It's like, not the whole kind of, like, don't focus on the moon or you'll miss out on the stars. You know what I mean? Like, you're missing out on a lot of personal growth and things that you're doing well or that you're getting better at, even though, it's not necessarily results driven.
Yeah, but especially in competition, I think there's a large mechanical and gameplay aspect, obviously. But the more you play, the more you realize, like, the reason why someone wins 9 out of 10 locals is not because they're mechanically the best player. It's because their mindset is above the rest. And
sometimes it could just be nerves.
I don't know. It's interesting. Just there's a lot of those skills, I think, that from competing translate beyond a game into just kind of resilience and mindset stuff. Because as you get older, you realize life is really frustrating, and there's a lot of things outside your control, and competitions like that sometimes too. And just being able to, like, recover from shit and keep going is, transcends the video game, I guess.
Yeah. I could even say that from the elderly perspective of, like, I have all these experiences in playing competitive fighting games from before Street Fighter 6. But then if I go and compete in Street Fighter 6 and get trashed, like, does that mean I wasted all that time playing 5? And that's not true. But again, when you're at the height of emotion from putting yourself in there in a competitive space, like, you don't have to think rationally. That's just, you're upset,
Feelings are often wrong, but we still got to kind of, like, figure out why we're feeling them if you want to get past it. So even though it's, like, objectively untrue, you still have to, like, examine that.
Yeah, speaking of mechanical skills, I guess, if you want to call it, I know that you're a musician. Like, John recently went to one of your shows
Yeah, it was sick. Oh man.
Was it Yucca? Is it Yucca Tap House or
Yucca Tap
what is that
Room?
place?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yucca Tap
Room.
Yeah. So
also a home for grassroots pinball, by the way. And players on the scene.
They do some like bar Tekken fights too, I think. But
really,
Tekken's there. I'm not surprised. Tekken's everywhere, man.
All right. Well, in terms of like the musical stuff, like I'm always interested in learning about like the person and kind of like again like the origins of like where that started. Is that something that you started as a kid? Like usually you hear people like they joined band or they joined orchestra, almost forcefully sometimes as a kid, and then they kind of grew from there. Like where does that come from?
That's interesting. I have to work some of that out because I could tell you the recent origin, but I do know like when there's a bunch of pictures of me. It's like a 2 or 3 year old with my dad while he's playing guitar or piano or drums or whatever. So that part started early. My dad had played in bands most of his life. Like he left his family situation when he was 17, moved to New York and was signed and ultimately never released anything, but was playing with like the New York Dolls and Alice Cooper and touring, following the Allman Brothers and stuff. So it's always kind of been a part of my life, but I don't think I really started playing guitar till it's 15 or 16-ish. And I went really heavy into it for a while in high school. It was great. I was mostly playing not like a competitive guitar who's trying to get on stage. It was mostly just let me learn some songs. We learned.
Did it stem from did you join band in high school, or was it like you were a fan of the music and you wanted to learn like that particular skill?
I think it was partly fan of the music. So I didn't really do any of the music stuff in school. I did a lot of sports. I think so. I started playing guitar after I broke my wrist really bad playing football and was like in a cast for on and off for a year because it didn't take. I had to go back and get surgery. It ended my football career as much as you could call that a career, but so it was kind of like finding a new hobby to fill that time because like my plan up until my wrist broke was play football in the fall, wrestle in the winter, and then do track in the spring, and that's like that's your life. And then in summer, and then you have to go to all the summer practices for all those things, right? So your time is filled. But when you kind of lose that, it's like, well, I'm 16, 17, so I can go out partying, and at the time I wasn't interested in that for whatever reason, which is probably good. But you can do that or hang out and play video games, which of course we did a lot of too, but just having something else to kind of focus on.
Why didn't you use social media, Sean? Why didn't you go on the internet, Sean?
Well, that's a great question. It's because I'm old and MySpace just got popular after I broke my wrists. Facebook didn't exist until I was in college when ASU was actually one of the first. God, I'm boomer dating myself here. But Facebook was one of the first. Originally, you needed a .edu email address to sign up so you can creep on your classmates and rate them and talk behind their backs about who you want to hook up with or whatever. But
I forgot about the whole rating thing.
Yeah, it was brutal. Like how we grew up is anyway, not the point, but yeah. So no social media. There was MySpace though. MySpace was dope, because you could do pseudo coding stuff and play obnoxious music on your profile. But I do have a fond spot for MySpace because that's where a lot of bands put their stuff, right? So you could really find a lot of music there.
There was drama with MySpace too, where like you could rank your friends.
Yeah, the top 8 friends.
Yep, the top 8, and then every now and then you'd see, oh man, they switched away from top 1. Like,
what did I do?
They changed their friend. Yeah, what?
Wait, so with the music thing, you said 15, 16, and
yeah.
How did that progress to you end up being in a band where you are at now?
It took a while. So, well, I think every time I went to a concert, and in those days I would go to 2 or 3 concerts a week, probably. That's just what we did. Like, Friday, Saturday night, and then whenever else. It's always like, damn, I wish I could do that. But then in your head, and this is similar to fighting games, you go, oh, that's not me. I can't be that person. I'm not good enough. You are good enough. But that's what goes to your head, right? And it took a long time. College was like a great time for me where I grew out of my shell, and I think I became a little bit more social, although I'm a giant introvert generally, unless I'm in small groups or something. It's different. But I worked at a restaurant for a long time bartending, and so there's a number of musicians there, and it just kind of hook up with one dude DJ'd, so he'd spin old like soul music, and I'd just come by and play guitar and figure it out. Um, Stuff like that, where it wasn't really a band, but it was kind of a group aspect, and it's kind of like sports, and it's kind of like fighting games and competition, where you're like getting ready for stuff and working with other people, and it's very like intellectually stimulating. But ended up being really good friends with someone. We played a lot of music together for a while and never got a band off the ground, but he joined a band with a couple of his friends, that lifelong friends that had moved out here from Jersey, and they needed another guitar player, so they picked me up, and it's the same band I'm still playing in now. I played in a couple other ones that haven't been the same, but it was mostly just kind of that. It started off like playing at house parties, just jamming out, being like too drunk, but playing music really loud at 2 a.m. so our neighbors loved us. But it's like fun. The first time that you play an actual song to a crowd at a party, and they're just like, even though you're like, damn, I kind of played shitty, but everyone's really into it, it does something to you, I think, for your confidence that just carries over. Then I start playing. We play club shows, Yucca, all that, and have played some larger ones, opening for bigger acts too. So we did like MC5 had a 50-year reunion show. They're like a proto-metal, proto-punk band. They're really good. I suggest looking into it. Their first record was this live album. I think it's just called MC5, but it was the first time ever that American media was recorded where the word fuck was used. So it's just like they played at the Democratic National Convention in 69 wow. or whatever, when all the riots went off, and they're very like burn down the system. It's good shit. But so we opened for them, and that was a crazy whirlwind time in my life, where like everything was going right, and I was just like, damn, it's awesome being 30. Like life just works. You don't have to like do anything anymore. Like things just happen and it works. It's great. So you're playing in front of 1,500 people, and just like, this is my life, and it's always going to be like this. Which, spoiler alert, it's not always like that. But dude, just keeping up like that, I feel like the analogy or the comparison, I guess, is like kind of that level where it'd be like you're like winning locals or kind of able to compete in national tournaments, but not really being someone who's a winner, right? That's kind of like the band level, which just was an amazing time. It still is. I have my drawbacks to playing music and stuff, and sometimes I just need to stop, but overall it's a really interesting, rewarding experience.
One of the so first off, I went to your show. Your show is amazing.
Thank you.
The drummer goes hard. I saw him break sticks. I saw him throw sticks.
Either him or me are bleeding.
Not arcade sticks.
Every show,
you're
like,
bleeding too.
I wasn't at that one, but he was. Like his knuckles are all bleed. Like if you saw his drum heads are covered in blood. Like I definitely sometimes just look. I played one show where I just hit it too hard, and those guitar strings are like a mandolin, right? So you just slice my fingertip off. I was like bleeding profusely, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I just start wiping it on my face, and by the end of the show, like I'm just like red and bloody. Like, so that was like probably my favorite show, because what's more rock and roll than just bleeding all over the place? But,
right? The thing that struck me while watching that is that it's not just about, like, I kind of went just expecting to listen to the music, and that was kind of it. But when I got there, it was just like, oh, Sean is sharing something with me, and he is. It kind of ties back in what we were talking about earlier about kind of putting yourself out there, but it's not just like, hey, I practiced a fighting game and now I'm going to compete and my results are mine. It's more like there is an audience here specifically to watch Sean and his band play, and you guys made stuff. You guys wrote songs to share with us, and like this is like the plight of the artists, I think. But like from there, it's up to the audience to interpret it, and you are basically like releasing that to us, and letting us judge it for you, essentially. And I see a lot of parallels there of, like, again, the putting yourself out there kind of deal. And I was curious if like, do you feel like a sense of identity when you're playing on stage, and like, is it similar to that fighting game stuff we were talking about earlier?
It is, and this was an interesting point when we're kind of talking about what we're going to talk about today. And so I just wrote down some notes, and this was a big one for me that took me some time to understand that I didn't really understand until now. I've been in the band for 10 years ish, but going back a little ways, when I moved to Phoenix in 2021, just kind of post COVID, post lockdown, I'd gotten out of a long-term serious relationship, which was too much to get into here, but it really kind of changed a lot of things about life and made me grow up in a lot of ways, I think, very fast. And I remember talking about, I was kind of struggling. I think I was doing well being in a new location, starting a new life, but still kind of struggling to find some of the confidence of my younger age, being 37 or whatever, however old I was. I was talking to my therapist about it, just saying, like, being on stage is great because I could play this character and I could put on the character and just hide behind it. And she said something that I didn't really believe until 3 days ago, or whenever I started thinking about this podcast, where she said like something along the lines of like, why do you think that's the character and that's not just you? Because when you're on stage, and I think this is true of competing too, like there's no noise in my head. Like I'm just like flow state living, and I think that's like the purest expression of me, because that's me not thinking about work. It's not having a bad or good day. That's just, you're just there and in the moment with a bunch of people in the audience who hopefully are in the same moment too. And you play at bars, so that's not always the case, but like
mask off, it's you in the rawest form possible.
Yeah, and I think at both the rawest and the best, I think that brings competition and music and all that kind of brings out the best of me, because there's just no baggage at that time. You're just that's you, back to like no worries other than making it through the set. I mean, granted, when you first start, you have that same like, oh, am I gonna fuck up these songs and people are gonna think I'm shit, like fighting games. But when you do it, you just realize like, even when you do fuck up, no one cares. I think it's cool because I think it's part of the song. So
I was, when I was watching the show, I was thinking about those similarities, and then also I started focusing on some of the differences of like, in competition in Street Fighter, like it feels like there's a failure state, and that like you have a result at the end. You can go 0-2 or something, right? But for a concert or for putting on a show like that, even like a show like this, where I'm like, I'm not sending a survey out to the audience afterwards, getting rate this on 5 stars, like and subscribe. Well, actually, we do ask to like and subscribe.
You can rate this. You can rate the podcast to 5.
Yeah. But that's the thing, though, is we're not like, you have basically like your view of the audience, and then you just have to kind of there's no failure. Well, I don't know. Maybe there is a failure state. I'm curious about your thoughts on that kind of comparison.
I think generally it kind of depends. Like if you're trying to like make it an income source, there kind of is, because you have to like be out there selling tickets. People have to show up. People have to enjoy the show. They have to be willing to buy merch and stuff. For what I get out of it these days, I don't think so. I don't think there's quite a failure state, at least not the way I look at it. I will say, having played in different bands, and like a lot of musicians are, including myself, I think music's a good way to deal with emotions and things going on in life. And so I think a lot of people with turmoil are kind of attracted to becoming musicians, and some of them it's just really about the music. And like, I'll call out my drummers very much that way. We both used to drink a lot. We both these days choose not to, not because we can't, but just like, you see what it does to people that can't drink. And so you work with musicians who are alcoholics, right? And then they're falling off stage while they're playing, and it's like, that's kind of a failure state to me. I have to like reprogram my brain and say like, that's his deal. It's not a failure for me, but it does feel bad that I played really big shows with really talented people in my band who like were completely blacked out during the show. They're like, man, that show was awesome. I don't remember any of it because I was so fucking buzzed and it was so fun. I'm like, dude, like, I'm glad that you got what you wanted out of it, but like I got the memories, you know, like
Yeah.
So I guess that's self-defined, but I think there is some of that element when you have to trust other people to show up and do their part. Whereas if I'm playing a tournament, I just have to worry about my own game. I don't have to worry about someone else.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting in terms of what you talked about with the like the music thing or the band thing being a part of you, because like, or you know, zoning out things, because it's there's parallels in that to like sports too, where like, you know, you play in arenas in front of crowds instead of you know, you're not at the home arena, you're, you know, you're playing at the away arena or stadium or whatever, and the best players, the best performers have to drone that out. They have to zone it out. They have to lock in, or whatever you want to call it. And you know, it's at that time where, like, you know, there's plenty of people like they've been interviewed where, you know, it's just like, I didn't hear anything. It's quiet. This is my place. It's me versus this guy, mano a mano, and I'm just doing my thing. Like, it's natural at this point. Like, this is. Yeah. Like you said, their flow state. This is where I'm comfortable. This is where I belong. This is my safe haven, and this is where I'm going to perform. You know, anything, you know, when I get off the court or I get off the field, you know, I'm going to deal with everything else that happens in my life then. But when I'm here, like, this is my place.
It's a sanctuary.
The youth refer to that as being locked in.
Locked in, yeah.
I also want to call out what I think is a pretty profound thing, where the idea of a failure state as a musician is that you put yourself in a position where you can't play music, right? And you could technically apply that to the fighting game stuff and what we were talking about earlier about putting yourself out there and, you know, not attending a local because you're intimidated or whatever, where the failure state is actually that you didn't try.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think about regularly. Like my reaction to things is, well, it's probably better just to not try that right now because I'm guaranteed to fail, you know? And that's another way to look at it. It's not that I'm guaranteed to fail. It's not that I'm failing by not trying.
Yeah. You're choosing to avoid the hard loss by taking the easy loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, the easy L. Oh man, the easy L.
The other thing, like you talked about, like the whole, like, you know, the people that drink or whatever, that black out. Like, now think of a situation where somebody's in that kind of state, and then, like Jon says, you know, they get to a point to where they injure themselves or something happens, and then now they can't play music. They can't do what they want because they hurt themselves, you know, because of those other things. Now
where do you athletes go? Right?
Yeah. Like, where do you go from there?
It's hard, yeah. I think. Well, I mean, I probably don't want to delve too deep into it. Not because I can't or don't want to talk about it. Just go. I don't want to. I also don't want to like trauma dump on the audience. But like,
oh, I'm hella doing that lately.
Yeah. It's just it's hard to watch. I've definitely I've had shows where a band member is so drunk they fall over and hurt themselves, or fall over and break their guitar or whatever. They can't continue the show, which sucks for them. It sucks for us. It sucks for the audience. It sucks for the people that put on the show. It just it's very frustrating. But then, you know, some then that can no longer play music because they're just no longer functional or whatever. And it's not pretty when you take that away from yourself. Like, all those bad things just spiral out of control, and it's sad to watch. So I don't know. But the other flip side of that I'll say on that same line that I think about a lot is not so much that, but it's like the pandemic happened, and I hate that I'm still talking about COVID in 2025, but I wasn't able to play live music. You know, you weren't able to go to
offline
events
about that
for Street Fighter, right? And so it's like my flip side and my motivation when I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go because I'm tired or whatever. I'm like, tomorrow, like, there might be a worse pandemic and we're locked down for 3 years and can't do this shit. So every time I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it because I'm just not feeling like I'm at peak.
I didn't even think about that in terms of like, not being able to do like a live show because, you know, because of the state that we are in. That's, I didn't even think about that. You know, a lot of people were like, I can't go to work, I can't do this, but you know, again, like, that's your escape, that's your sanctuary, and like, you literally can't do it because of the state of the world. That's crazy to me, man.
It really hit me hard having just got out of a relationship where I was kind of like a caretaker for someone, so I didn't have a lot of time to myself. So I was looking forward to doing these things I could do again, like traveling. I want to drive up the Pacific Coast Highway, work remote. Like I just bought a new car, like kind of like silly new car, so I can just go have a fun road trip that would last 3 months while I work. I wanted to play shows. I wanted to travel. I wanted to go meet new people. And then it's like, by the way, fuck you, and the world's closed for the next year. So it gave me like, it gives me continued motivation of like, don't wait till next year to do it. Don't wait till next month. Like, do it right now. You don't know know what's going to happen.
What's the next opportunity? Yeah, exactly. I know something else John wanted to talk about was, you mentioned fulfillment through mentorship. I wasn't exactly sure where he was going with that personally. So if you want to expand on that, John.
Sure. Yeah. So we've talked a lot about getting older and age and whatnot, but I do think that if you just look in the Discord, anytime someone needs coaching, Sean is like right there and ready to go, and he's got a whole.
I'd agree.
He'll often post a whole dissertation, and some of it's technical, a lot of it's technical, but a lot of it's also like some of the stuff we've talked about today about like emotional resilience, essentially. And so, in the same way that we've kind of asked like what motivates you to play fighting games or to play music, I'm curious about like what motivates you to put yourself out there to help somebody in a Discord, or just help a player at a local or anything like that.
I think that's another really long answer that I'll try to not ramble forever on while still hitting stuff, but there's a lot to it. I think starting with me when I was younger, I don't want to say I struggled in early life, but I just didn't really have like a sense of direction that I do now, of knowing what I want or what I need to do. So I ended up like, I was supposed to graduate college in 2008, which for those around in 2008, that was not a great year to be looking for a job, right? So I kind of like just started going, oh, fuck it. Like I can't graduate now. I'll fuck around and do it next year. And that kind of kept going. And at some point, like I knew I kind of needed to take some time off school to address some things, but I couldn't in my mind, because you have student loans. If you're out of school for 6 months, then you have to start paying them. So I was like, oh, I can't do that. So let me just take 2 classes, et cetera, et cetera. And I kind of stretched that out and finally graduated way later in 2012 after figuring some stuff out. But then trying to enter the workforce, 2012 kind of sucked too. My original plan right that year was I was an English lit major, so I was going to go teach overseas in Japan or something. I thought that'd be dope. But if you remember what happened around then, Fukushima blew up. So that program,
the earthquake.
Tsunami,
rather.
So like I was like, well, shit, like I have no plan now. Like I have no idea what I'm gonna do. So it took me a while, and just working like minimum wage jobs, which I had to move back home with my parents, like because my student loan payments were my entire paycheck. So paying those off, and I kind of bounced around like call center jobs and stuff until I was about 30, still working in a call center, making minimum wage essentially. And I remember starting to work with a guy who later would become my boss. I was kind of in technical support. And I was kind of doing the same thing where I was so bored because I was like overqualified for that type of work, but like underqualified to do anything else. So I was bored, and they had the chat rooms for helping the tier 1 agents. I just started answering all the questions, and the guy that ran like the advanced support's like, I need to talk to you. What you're doing is great, but it's alarming that you're answering these questions better than our support agent, our high tier support agents. So we developed a relationship and worked together very closely. And at the time, I didn't realize that him and then by extension some other people in this orbit were like mentoring me. But by the end of it, now looking back, I always felt like I was lucky because obviously I was smart enough to do it. I was driven enough to do it, but that's not enough. Like you have to be lucky too. Someone has to take a chance or extend the olive branch. And like looking back, like that changed my life, where I went from making minimum wage and like having to donate plasma to pay rent and skip meals because I just couldn't fucking afford it, to like having a pretty good career in life where I don't at this point worry about that kind of stuff. And it always sticks with me. Like looking back, like if I didn't make that relationship and didn't have that kind of mentor-mentee relationship, like I think my life would look very different. It might still look very good, but it wouldn't be what it is today. So it's like one of those core.
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest kind of pivots in your life. Yeah.
Pay it forward almost, right?
Yeah, because like no one really does it by themselves, you know, like it's like the self-made billionaire who, you know, they did it all by themselves with that $10 million loan from their parents. So like you have to acknowledge that shit, I think, and that's partly how I do it.
I love hearing that, because like I was almost in a similar position when I was one of my previous jobs where you know, I've always been the type of person when somebody asks, like, if I know the answer, like, you know, I want to teach people stuff. I want people to know things. And like, I personally get really irritated when people ask like the same things daily. And I was just like, did I not do a good enough job of explaining this to you yesterday or the day before or the week before? Or are you just being ignorant, or are you just being lazy? You know, it's almost like the social media stuff. Hey, at Grok this or whatever, and like, you know, you could look this shit up, but you know, you don't want to, or you don't want to put the effort in. And like, I was in a kind of similar situation where I was helping people out, and then I was never extended that olive branch, or, you know, hey, do you want to go get into this role? I kind of was just kind of stuck where I was at in that kind of support role. And then what really kind of just killed my motivation at that job was anytime that we had like a known issue, right? Like I was always the type of person to find examples and wait till I could present those examples, because I wanted to show proof of my work. I'm just not making shit up, right? Like there's a lot of people like, hey, this customer called in and they said this. Is this a known issue? I was like, have you talked to 2 or 3 other people with the same problem? Can you replicate it? Can you do this? Like I would go through all those steps, show it to somebody, and then one day somebody like really questioned, like, well, I don't think that this is a problem. And I was just like, did I not just give you like 7 examples of this happening to different people? And then sure enough, later in the day, it comes up as it's a problem. Yeah. And right then I was just like, it just killed my motivation. Like I didn't feel valued at all. And I'm just like, you know, it was kind of like do you know who the fuck I am? Like I've been here. I've been, you know, giving people answers, helping people, and doing that when I don't have to. I could sit at my desk at home, you know, mess around on my Switch or my laptop or whatever, and not bother to help anybody. And here I am doing all this extra stuff, and then you guys are going to be like, no, that's not something. That's nothing, right?
Can you
like
do more?
To hear that, yeah, exactly. And then just to hear that coming from you, like, you know, somebody was like, hey, you know, you're doing this, you know, let me help you out. And then the fact that you're in a sense paying that forward, I think that's great. I love hearing that.
You have to do it. I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's a lot I think you could say about privilege and stuff, but I think the one piece of privilege that people don't talk about is the luck and things like that. Mm-hmm. And just someone helping you, like, because you can be the smartest person in the world, but if no one values your work, what are you going to do? So I try to recognize that.
I'm glad that it didn't kind of kill my spirit when it came to helping people, because I try to do the same thing, like in our Discord or in the Sim Discord, because there's a lot of like lower level players that are like, hey, how do we deal with this? So there's always, you know, I'm trying to cultivate that kind of environment where it's just like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna vent and I'm gonna do this and that about whatever characters, and you know, you're carried by this or whatever. And that's, you know, half of the time like I'm joking, but I am semi-serious about that kind of stuff. But I hope people don't like take it like, you know, I just hate life and I hate Street Fighter 6 and all this other stuff, because like if I hated the game I wouldn't be playing.
Yeah, I don't think you put in the effort that you do, or any of us here, if you hate the game, you know. But I do. It ties into other stuff too, that I think that we're lucky here locally in that type of atmosphere, because I think for the most part everyone's really on that same page of let's learn and help. It's not, and people are receptive to advice. I think here that's not always the case. I also try to help people out in various online communities, and obviously some of them you guys know that they take the advice really well and run with it and become players that are exceptional.
There's been a lot of talk about that online too, in the Twitter space, in terms of like, you know, people giving advice or whatever and not, you know, ever going to locals, or they're quick to talk about certain situations and they've never been to like in-person events. And I think I mean, you know, not that I think that you have to do that, but I think there's a whole another level to a community in terms of, you know, finding people that want to be better and that are positive about things instead of staying in that space where it's just negativity all around.
Yeah, it's hard because I forget what exactly we were talking about earlier, but that's kind of the, if you try to help people and they're just not receptive, you know, you have to learn how to go, okay, well, they don't want to hear my message, or the way it's not a flaw in me, it's not a flaw in them, it's just this isn't how I want to spend my time, because I only have so much time. So
exactly.
I try to rein it in these days and make sure, rather than trying to help everyone that's out there, it's like, okay, well, who wants an actual authentic relationship to talk about the game, who wants to put in work, who's just kind of venting to the void, and maybe we should not answer their questions because they don't give a shit about the answers, you know. And because that stuff frustrates me so much if I'm going to put in that effort. But at the end of the day, I can't be mad at them. Like, I just have to know not to engage in that way and focus my time on people that care.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to like what I said in terms of like helping people at work. Like, I would link people to articles because I'm just like, I'm not telling you this because this is tribal knowledge or stuff that I know. Like, this is available for you to find right here. And then the next time they'd ask again, what would I do? Link the same article. Oh, where'd you find that? I was like, it's the same shit
place.
I linked to yesterday. You could have bookmarked it. You know, you could have just, you know, took in the knowledge instead of just, you know, not caring enough to figure that out. And it's just like, you know, like you said, it's not a flaw of mine. It's not a flaw of theirs. It's just, you know, eventually you just kind of get to a point where you're just like, eh.
Yeah, it's hard because that's where that job is replaceable by AI. And I hate to say it because, like, I'm also very much like I used to be really all in on the job because of those experiences I had, where it's a very empowering thing. And these days, I think my view on work-life balance and how much effort I want to give my job compared to other stuff that I actually give a shit about is different. Where now I'm like, dude, I'd rather like get my work done and then go fuck around on the Switch. Whereas 10 years ago, it was like, okay, I get my work done so I can go study, you know, Python or something. But I don't know how to feel about that. But I do, you know, that's the thing. Totally. If people can't look up their own information, that's the job that AI is going to eat right up. So hopefully they're okay.
I also like, one thing that helps calm some of my frustrations down when I run into a situation like that where someone doesn't necessarily want to hear my message is that people learn differently. Whether if you can think about it from like a personality standpoint, where people love, you know, like introvert versus extrovert versus like, or you know, someone maybe, or it could be a language thing, it could be a generational thing, like people older than people older than me learned a very, very different way than people younger than me. And what I end up trying to like default to is, I'm like, if I give a message or if I have a message and they don't want to hear it, or if it bounces off them or whatever, as you said, it's not a reflection of you. Like, cutting the ego out of it is a big portion of it, being like, my advice is not God's gift to the world, you know. It's just, this is what works for me. And if it works for you too, then that means we think pretty similarly. And I think that's a good opportunity for a relationship. But if it doesn't, if it does bounce off you, maybe it's just a task of finding the right person to explain it, the same concept to you in a different way. Yeah. So in the same way that you send somebody the same article over and over again, that might just be how you learn. And that's the limit of how far you can go to explain it and translate it to however they want to hear it. But there might be somebody later on down the line who makes a YouTube video of it or something, and then they learn, like a kid might learn better from that, you know. But that's also not our fucking jobs. We present it in the way that we know best because it's a reflection of our experiences. But at the same time, we have to cut the ego out of it.
Yeah, and I think it's exceptionally tough these days, especially if you're like trying to do this in an online format. The Discord is essentially social media. And I think you have to like keep an eye out that you almost always start with good intentions of trying to help people, to help them and make it about them. But it's very easy to get the ego involved, especially with like likes and you know, whatever. And
growing
like,
the platform.
Oh, cool, I'm getting all this dopamine because people like what I'm saying, but the person I'm talking to doesn't give a shit. So like, I need to change the way I'm acting. I can't just fall for the dopamine trap. I have to I can't. You have to do it for them, not for your own validation, I guess, which is hard. It's easier in person because you don't have those numbers go up. So,
I mean, you just kind of described this podcast in a nutshell. As far as like a lot of I think why I did a lot of the said a lot of the things I have over the course of this podcast, over the 94 episodes we have, is for my own validation, and then to hear it from other people that they listen to it, it would feel really good. But there's a certain point where you have to really analyze what you're actually saying, and then figure out is that something that you actually want to say, or are you just saying it so that way you get that validation?
Especially if you're a experienced player, a coach, a mentor, a leading member of the community, you can't say something off cuff. You might come to regret it when you realize that people are listening to you and they're taking it to heart, when you're just kind of venting that. It's like IDOM or something. IDOM's like, this fucking game sucks. But if you meet him in person, he's like, this game's great. Let's play games. If your only exposure is the online, him saying this sucks, you get a different view of everything.
People play a character, kind of like what we were talking about earlier with the music stuff, right?
So the first question we got here is from Satora. It says, let's say you're a character loyalist trying to compete at a high level. What do you do when you have doubts about your character in the current meta climate? And then the bonus question is waffle fries or wedges?
I think wedges, but it depends on where I'm at, because some waffle fries are bomb. That's the easy one. The character crisis, I think, is harder because I've mostly played, if not the same character, the same archetype anyway, even back to Street Fighter 4. And I've kind of just stuck with it. I think and I'm curious to hear your guys' opinion too on this, but I think that one of the important things at our level is you have to like the character. If you're competing for $1 million, you don't have to like the character. You just have to like the results. But for us, I think at this level, you have to kind of like the character. So I wouldn't switch off a character you like just to go for a more meta character, which might change next season and might get gutted.
Yep.
But I do also think that there is an upside to exploring other characters and seeing what you can do with them, even if that's just to go back to your main, because you learn a different play style, or you see how people on your main deal with that character, and then you're like, oh, some of these options are not scary as I thought they were. You can shut them down really easy. So have
you ever go ahead, sorry.
So that's kind of a cop-out answer where I'm not committing to anything. I'm just option selecting the entire argument. So.
Well, I was gonna say, have you ever played like a secondary character, or have you just kind of stuck with who you've chosen?
Not seriously. I mean, I tend to take every character up to master just to kind of get the general idea of
the feel,
how their buttons and specials work and kind of what they look for. But I don't know. I guess I took a pretty serious look at Ryu last phase and got him to 1700 or so well enough to know the character without getting into matchup specific or I can still do it with fundamentals, but it was very fun. It was interesting. I think it made me think about the way I play Cammy a lot differently and how I need to prioritize some other things and learn stuff that I just don't really care to learn. And now I'm spending the time learning it, and it's great. But other than that, I haven't really played too many secondaries. I've tried other characters in other games for a bit, and I played Karen, who's Rekka Cammy without a dive kick, right? So I haven't gone too far out lately anyway.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I've always been kind of a character loyalist. I haven't when it came to competition and stuff, I've always stuck with my main. I never really played a secondary in competition. I did it once in Street Fighter 4. I played Ryu against Velociraptor's Goken because I was this matchup is hell for Honda. It sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to have to make all these hard reads. And my Ryu got washed, and I was just this guy's nowhere. He's nowhere ready for competition or of this level, or where I'm at, and it ended up just being a wasted game. So for me, I don't know. I feel if you want to be a character loyalist, you have to kind of trust in your matchup knowledge and what you know for that character, more so than I guess kind of copping out to just let me go find another character that's better for this match. Unless it's something overwhelming where it's I think Lily Geef is horrible for Geef. So like if you have that much trouble with Geef and you're just like, you know what, I'm going to learn Lily, but then what happens when that guy's like, you know what, I know Akuma now, and you're like, oh shit. I was like, my Lily's not ready for Akuma. It was only ready for this. Then you kind of go into that kind of back and forth, blind picks and all that stuff. Whereas it's just like, I'm not worried about that. Like, I'm going to play who I'm going to play, and I'm going to deal with everything that I'm going to deal with.
My answer to this question is very much a reflection of a conversation I've had with a couple different people. Actually, one with you on this podcast, Benny. But to put it in the lens of the Arizona scene, we have never been viewed as competitive as the California or the East Coast scenes. That's the history, right? And so if you turn the clock back to before online was viable, right? Another fact here that's I think is pretty universally agreed upon is you are only as good as your competition, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you play at the highest level with the highest level players, you're going to get better compared to if you play with lower level players. Yeah. So if I look at the history of the best players in Arizona, every single one of them played a whack ass character. Like I look, maybe not all of them, but like I think of Juicebox with Abel. I think of Mr. SNK with Honda, and Driftwood with Fei Long, and Angelic with Shuma Garath, and Latif with Latif was a unique exception, but with Viper, and Freezy with Blanca. Just for the sake of example, like as a Chun-Li player when the game first came out, like it was very different in that when you play a whack-ass character, people from other scenes and higher level competition will inevitably want to practice against you. Even though your character is not meta, even though your character is not top tier, if you still play with the best competition, you are going to naturally get better because they're going to want to figure out your gimmicks. That's the other side of this is like the whack-ass characters often have gimmicks, and the meta characters are the ones that are solid and can handle a lot of different situations. So what ends up happening, and I saw this happen with Angelic specifically, is I think he'll forgive me for saying this. When he played Marvel with Shuma and Wolverine, everyone was like, he plays really dumb. Like he'll cause assists and then run in and block with his face. We take the bait, we attack Wolverine, and then we get tagged by Shuma, and he just picks it up off like after getting hit. And so like it's a prevailing thing. I saw that with Juicebox as well. Everyone would just be like, these are just gimmicks. And what ends up happening is you get taken in by the best players because they want to learn how to deal with your gimmicks, and then it's on you as a competitor to go back and backfill the fundamentals. And it sucks because you're playing a character that does not excel at fundamentals oftentimes. But, and I think specifically about Freezy in this particular instance, but because you were playing with that top tier competition, you have the opportunity to learn from them and apply that to your whack ass character. And so we look at Freezy as somebody that did run slide with Kim in Diamond 4, right? And he played Blanca, and it's like, okay, this is a lot of dolls and gimmicks and stuff like that. But nowadays, I'm getting whiff punished by him because he's playing patient and stuff. And that didn't come from, people just locally playing against the Blanca. Like he has elevated to higher levels of competition and is able to backfill that. It's just at a certain point, the best players are going to figure out your gimmicks, and you have to pick yourself up after getting figured out. So that is, I think, the downside of sticking with a meta character or a non-meta character. But on the flip side, you will gain, if you continue to push that character, you will gain notoriety and you will get the practice to round yourself out. It's just about what you do with that once you get that opportunity. Cool. I'll move on to the next question if that's cool. We got a lot of these. So the X button writes, do you have any pregame /tournament rituals that you complete? What are your thoughts about players chugging energy drinks before a match, a la Mena at EVO 2025?
I think energy drinks are terrible for you. I don't know if that's 100% true, but it's at least 98% true. So careful of that. But I think, but pregame rituals for sure for me, at least for the, I don't, admittedly, I don't really do this for online tournaments, and I don't always do this for locals, even though I should. But I do try to, especially like Evo. I think my day one Evo preparation was great. My day two was not, and I think that the ritual for day one was to sit down and kind of think about what I wanted to focus on in matches. Not just in like a learning kind of way of, I want to make, I think just if you pick something that you want to look for or focus on, it just makes you actually pay attention to the game and autopilot less. So it's less about the specifics and more just like writing down a couple things of, here's my goal today besides winning. I definitely try to do a fair amount of quiet, get the phone away, turn off notifications, and do some type of mindfulness, whether that's breathing or meditation or whatever you want to do, just to try to get to that quiet mind state. And then at that point, it's really just about guarding that mental state.
Yeah.
But, and not letting outside, not looking at the phone and checking Reddit and seeing there's something dumb going on and going, oh God, this is fucking stupid. Like, focus on the game. So that I think that's mostly mine. I would say then you play your games and afterwards, almost every tournament is going to end up disappointing unless you win them all. So you got to sit with that feeling a little bit. And if it's really like bothering me a lot, like Evo, I think I objectively had a good run. I played Phenom really well. I went in expecting to beat Phenom because I had my mental ready. I didn't. Nice. It didn't make me upset, honestly. As the weekend went on, that really aged really well. Where I was like, holy, like, okay, I could play footsies with a guy that just took fourth at Evo. I got to work on other shit now, but that was a big confidence boost. But then I lost to like a Modern Lily, where I'm like, I know objectively, like, if it's a bad matchup for me as a player and as a character, so it's not too like, oh God, this is so unsurprising. But that hit me hard. I really wanted to get to round 3. I didn't. So, I had my moment to go be sad alone for a little bit, and then decided like I have to write down what I'm grateful for, which is both fighting game related, FGC related, locally related, all the connections I made, but personal life stuff, having a great supportive partner, a good life and a job that lets me do this shit. So that's my like cool down, because you kind of, if you just ignore that shit, like, you're gonna get burned out and upset. So
no, that's a great perspective to have. Like you said, kind of just put it in perspective in terms of like what you're grateful for. Like, I think that's something that I should probably do more often. But the energy drink thing I find kind of funny, because like there are some people that are sponsored, like Bonchan, so like you see them chugging always, and I'm just like, for me, like, I think that's kind of a terrible look, but I'm just like, I wonder if anybody actually like puts like water or something in there instead, and it's just like, because I really hope that you're not going through 4 or 5 energy drinks on your tournament run in winners every time I see you on stream and there's like a new can. I'm like, oh God. But anyway, to the next question. This is also from the X button. Was, who are some of your earliest players that you learned and molded your play from? I really like this question. It's something that I never really thought about in terms of like, well, I don't know. I think we mentioned it talking to people about kind of like their origins and their mentors and stuff like that.
That's an interesting one for me, because I remember, especially getting into Street Fighter 4, there wasn't like, you couldn't go on YouTube and watch as much as you can today, right? So it's a bit harder. You knew the big names, and I remember like reading stuff that Justin Long said that I think I still apply today a lot, about like, be fundamentally sound, like it's okay to play lame, like you don't have to take all the risks, and I have to constantly remind myself of that. So I think that was a big influence. But I think like today, honestly, most of my influence is playing from everyone in the scene. I think I've learned stuff from pretty much everyone. That I don't know, like John does really good jab work, so I'm like, how does that work? And I figured that out. I think that's a cornerstone of my game. And I think Chase has like amazing patience, so dealing with him and trying to figure that out, and where I can do that, I can keep going, see his reads, the way Maynard does corner pressure, honorable with punishing me and killing me. And there's a lot of that. So I just, now today I've been trying to watch a little bit more of like high level Kami players to learn what they're doing but mostly I think most of my inspirations for my game today came from everyone here that we play with regularly. Watching, like, it's often easy shit. It's like Freezy, I know, would play secondary characters, and I'd run corner pressure, and he'd just jump out, and I'm like, how is he doing this? I'm like, oh, it's because I'm doing something wrong. Then I watch his corner pressure and watch how he does shit, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I need to change how I'm approaching this. So pretty much everyone, I try to learn from everyone I play with, because you don't need to, like, I don't think that you need to watch an Evo champion to learn something. You can learn something watching someone who just barely made it to master, because they think about the game in a way that you don't at this point. You might have thought about the game differently in the past, but they have different ideas, and they don't always universally work, but there's stuff you could learn.
Yeah, and to the point about like the Evo champion stuff too is like you've got also got to think about the kind of natural and mechanical ability that they have. Like that might not be something that you could really replicate. You know what I mean? Like Punk's ability to whiff punish and stuff like that. Like that's something you're gonna be like, I'm gonna do that, and just like, yeah, you could train yourself to do that, but it's like that shouldn't be like necessarily like your first step, your expectation of, you know, this is what I need to do.
I think it's good to like emulate people and try to play how they play, but at the end of the day, you have to be true to yourself.
Yeah,
you don't want to play like someone else. You want to play like you, but that does require you to try to play like other people, and then you take what works, and you know what doesn't work, you figure something else out.
Yeah.
First off, I absolutely agree with all of that. I think ultimately, I think maybe we were looking for an answer, or rather, I wonder if X was asking in terms of like a trading cards as far as like Daigo, Tokido, blah blah blah. But I completely agree in that it's you mold your play around your training partners because you want to beat your training partners. Okay, moving on to the next question because we've got a lot of these. Any bracket demons y'all ever overcome? This is from Tree. And what did it take to overcome those bracket demons?
That I feel like I got over the hump for about one tournament and beat both Christian and Freezy in bracket.
Yeah, I remember that one.
It was tough. I definitely came in locked. I don't think I have like one. It's going to be such a, I won't say it's a cop-out answer, but it's not an actionable answer. But I do vividly remember I struggle still against both those guys, and historically have. They're both very good players. You don't have a lot of room to make mistakes. But on that particular tournament, I don't remember why, but I came into it a little upset about something not related to anything about the tournament, and just was thinking about I really wanted a big run to perform and stuff, and started off okay, and I think I beat Christian for the first time ever, and beat Freezy actually in winners finals, where I caught him coming in a little bit, and I was really locked in and focused that day. But that was good enough, and I think that would have been my answer if it stopped there. But definitely when grand finals hit and I had a run back with Christian, he beat me 5 times in a row. And I vividly, this isn't something I've been trying to figure out how to tap into this, and it's one of those things that you can't just do on demand. But I remember the 6th game going, I'm just, the only thought I had was like, not today. Like this is my chance, and you're not beating me today. And I can't tell you what I changed because it was nothing major. I think if you look at the games, I was playing better, but it wasn't like anything radical. But it was like a radical belief in myself that I was going to win and that no one was going to beat me that day. And that's what it takes, because I know I can't beat those guys every day, but I still feel like if you hit that mindset and belief, like you still can at times. So that's kind of not a concrete answer, but that is the truth as I see it.
No, I agree with that one for sure. I think the other kind of the way the question's phrased is like demons, right? But a lot of times you go full Goku on it and your demons become your rivals, you know? And so ideally it's not a one and done thing where you conquer the demon and that's it, right? Because they're still playing, they're still getting better too, so they will in turn push you again. And so I await the next Shogberg win, where he destroys all of Arizona again.
I'm working on it. I have flashes. Sometimes I feel really good, then I'm working on stuff, so then it feels really bad, and I have to remind myself that's normal.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing that like I mentioned earlier about not being able to go to tournaments and missing the competition, and I think that's one of the biggest parts of what's been my journey was kind of seeing where I'm at, and finding those climbing those mountaintops and getting those redemption moments, because there's been times like John will remember back at Rewired, like when I beat Ernest and like I
Oh
didn't lose
yeah.
that first day, and everybody is like, "What the hell came over you?" I was like, "I don't know, I just I felt good today, right?" And it's just like he'd been like my rival, and like you said, yeah, kind of developed a rivalry over time, even though I was always kind of on the losing end of that all the time. But to kind of get over that feeling, like I've had a couple moments like that, and it's like that's probably primarily one of the things I miss about competition is
Yep.
just having those kind of arcs and losing and coming back and being like because like I haven't beat Freezy, I haven't beat Big Mac or Sia in tournament, and like for me it's like I haven't had the opportunity because I can't go to the tournaments, but
Ah, yeah.
so that's been frustrating. All right, so I've got another question here from Satora. It's your last day playing Street Fighter, and Lord Daigo offers you the chance to play on stage with anyone you want in front of a crowd that's guaranteed to match your set's energy. First to 10, the closer to set, the better. Who are you going up with?
I think I'd probably have to stick with Cammy, although I'd be very tempted to just run Chun-Li if I wasn't trying to win just for the meme to lose. But yeah, I don't think I'd want to if I have an opportunity to play Daigo or anyone else. Any player that I'm like, oh, I'd really like to. That's a great player, right? That's one of the best. Like I just want to pick. I don't want to do anything other than play the character I always play the way I always play it, so I can see how I measure up against the best.
Like that.
Next question here. What made you decide to? Well, actually, we already talked about.
Oh, wait. Satora says the question is which opponent you play against. So not
you wouldn't play
necessarily
Daigo. So somebody that you would have a competitive set with.
Man, that's a good question. I don't.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
that is a good question. I don't know. If I had to pick just one, I don't know who it would be. Probably like
this is your MySpace top 8 here, man.
Yeah, this is tough. So I'm going the trading card route here. Is this like open to everyone, or this is supposed to be like the Evo legends, so to speak?
I think it's anyone.
That's so tough for me because I don't know if I'd have one. I think I'd have a very I'd have a very good time. Anyone I think that I play with regularly that I consider a training partner / rival, which is kind of the same thing. I can't pick one. Anyone in this group, honestly. That's a cop-out answer, I know, but I can't pick one. Right. It's just
a training partner, though.
Yeah, someone that we both know. It's going to come down to who's playing well that day. It's not like necessarily a skill gap. Like even if someone's better than me, like if it's first to 10 for all the glory, I like my chances, even if they usually beat me 10-2, because you step up in those ones.
He's calling you out, Chase. That 10-1 is going to 10-2 now.
Nah, I had a couple wins over Sagat, and then he figured me out pretty quick. So I'm back to the drawing board there. But
gotcha. That's what makes it fun. All right, go ahead, John.
Sure. So AZ Young asked a question about like what made you decide to play SF6. We talked about that earlier in the show, but the second part of that question is what makes you keep on going no matter how hard it gets? Why do you keep playing 6?
I think it's just the working, like, so I know I can't perfect that, or the same thing with guitar. You're never going to be perfect at guitar, but you can always keep working. Like the pursuit of perfection just gives me a goal.
You gotta sell your soul to the devil.
I guess I think I lost that a while ago, so I don't know if it's still in play. But I don't know. Like I used to measure myself by like work achievement and stuff, and as I get older, I realize that shit doesn't matter. But I can pick something like just competing here, and like I've lost to everyone, and I've also beat everyone at some point. So being able to constantly chase that is, it gets hard when you lose, but like Yeah, you deal with a bunch of dumb shit in life too. That's very hard, and it's harder than Street Fighter. If you can get up from that,
Yeah, I feel so. It's basically kind of like the competitor in you in a sense. Like that's kind of how I feel. I think, like why I continue to play these kind of games because it's like single player games, stuff like that. Those have their place, but like I'm a competitor by heart, and like this is what I compete in. Like I'm not. I used to play basketball all the time, like all the day, and I just play whoever. And like, not that I can't do that. It's just I'm getting older. My body can't handle it. So, yeah, this is my competitive outlet now.
Yeah.
My answer is related to why I keep doing this podcast, which I'll talk about at the end of the show. So.
All right, cool. We're 6:42. All right, so Sia has a question. What buff would you give your character to make them busted tier, or even more busted in Mai's case?
I think I've said this before, but I want the DiCaprio install.
She just puts the mask on, and starts speaking in Russian.
I get left, right, mix ups, and all kinds of dumb shit. And you guys will hate me, but it'll be great.
That'd be an install. That'd be a fun install. It just turns around, puts the mask on.
There's a lot of I'm gonna nerd out a little bit here. Cammy can already do all that stuff. She can feint hooligan in the same way that she could do the fake command dash thing, and then now she can cross up with EX back fist to do left right.
Didn't she have the Ed Super? Didn't she have the ball?
She did. She had a cycle ball. Never mind. Cammy doesn't have that. So.
Cammy Dream combo with the install.
There you go.
Instant left right. So
just dive kicks back and forth. It doesn't even put you in the corner. It just keeps you mid screen.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, John.
Well, since they called out Mai specifically in here, what I would do for Mai to make her busted. Because she's pretty fair right now. I think we would all agree that, right? I would make it so standing medium punch is hit confirmable. I would make her crouch jab -1 on block. I would make her have a really good cancelable low forward and a level 1 that pays extra dividends. Never mind, she already has all of that. But she's too good. Yeah.
I think you make her better by removing something so she's less likely to get nerfed.
Yeah. Addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So the next question is which players, if any, in Arizona are as cute as Maynard? And what is your favorite bagel?
I guess no one, but also the everything bagel. I'm also really partial to a good cheddar jalapeno, though. It kind of depends. I'll go back and forth.
Those are my two go-tos. Yeah.
All right. And then the other meaty part of the question is, what's your favorite book about mental preparedness and competition?
This is coming from Nick, I know, because I've talked to him about this. And
brought to you by Driftwood.
I recommend this to everyone that competes too. It's called The Inner Game of Tennis. There's a big section there that's just about tennis you can skip, but the one big takeaway, that there's more, but the one secret to me, I think, was they were talking about how if you're playing tennis and you're trying to serve the ball, I'm not a tennis player, so I'm kind of gonna mess up a lot of this, but bear with me. You're trying to serve the ball and you hit it too hard, so you get a fault and you're not landing in the zone. Then you start thinking, oh, I need to do that. I need to correct my serve by hitting it less hard or angling it down, whatever it is. I don't know. You're telling yourself what you need to do, and the problem with that is you tend to tense up when you tell yourself to do something. Just like if you tell yourself in the middle of a match, I have to fucking anti-air this guy, I'm gonna lose, you're gonna get jumped in on and die. Yep. So the suggestion is rather than telling yourself what to do, you have to just observe without any kind of judgment and say, oh, this guy's jumping a lot, and trust yourself to make the adjustment. They say to visualize the situation, right? So if you're tennis, you're serving and the ball just lands in the court, or Street Fighter, you land the anti-air. I am aphantasic. I can't visualize anything, so I struggle sometimes there and try to just conceptually think about they're jumping a lot and trust myself, even though I can't see it, that I'm gonna do the right thing. Doesn't always work, but it keeps you present in the moment, observing the game instead of thinking about things you're doing wrong, which is like a spiral of death where you just lose the set because you're too busy like being mad at yourself and you're not listening to the game anymore. So there's some more in there that's good. That was the big part of it. The other thing that really interested me is it talked about competition and why do we compete in these like phases that like the first two are kind of interchangeable. You're like playing to win, and if you lose, then you failed, and that's kind of a self-destructive mindset because you can't win them all. Sometimes you go against someone that's better than you, and you don't have control over that at the time. You could practice later and catch up, but in that tournament, you can't do anything. So it's hard to do that. It's hard to compete just to win. So often people go from there and they go, well, I just want to learn. And that's great mentally. You can learn something from every set, even the losses. You can walk away happy, but you're missing the competitive fire that it takes to beat people. Yeah. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot again there too. So the third phase was kind of like, you have to play to win because competition brings out something in you and your competitor that you're sharing, and you're bringing out the best of both players. And that's how I think when we all play, it's like, I want to beat you and do my best, because if I'm going easy on you or not taking it seriously, I'm robbing you of the chance of beating me, and vice versa. And we're pushing each other to be better. And it doesn't matter at the end of the day who wins or who loses. I mean, to a degree it does, but that's not really why we're doing it. It's really just trying to bring out the best of, your competitors, your rivals, your friends, and trying to do something that's about more than just yourself.
Nice.
Well said.
That's great. What was that word you said? Aphantasia?
Aphantasia, yeah.
Aphantasia? Okay, yeah. I didn't know what that was. I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't either till I was about 36, and I thought all my life when people were saying just picture it in your head that they're being metaphorical, it crushed my soul when I realized that people can actually see shit in their head. It really caused a crisis for a while. I'm like, this explains so much, and I feel like I've been robbed of a lot of stuff.
Well, basically to go back to it, it says the inability to create voluntary visual mental images or having a mind's eye.
Yeah,
that's really interesting to me because that's typically how I process a lot of things. Like I have that mental image of like what this is supposed to look like, and it's just like, I don't,
but I can hear a song in my head, note for note. So I think that's partly why music works for me.
Yeah, nice. All right, so we had the next question here from the X button is for you and Shog. Do you think your guitar playing skills have helped you practicing difficult, awkward combos? I don't know if that's like a dig at me for my execution here, X button. But no, I'm just kidding.
We don't care about your guitar playing skills, Benny.
I don't have any guitar playing skills. I'm not musically inclined in that sense. So, So again, the question: do you think your guitar playing skills have helped you practicing difficult, awkward combos?
Yeah, there's a big rhythm and timing component to music that is very helpful in combos, especially on like things that are kind of awkward timings, right? You just I can just kind of feel it. That also, by the way, neutral stuff in footsies as well. Like I often can feel the rhythm that people are hitting buttons, and that's why I think I'm successful sometimes at being able to like walk forward and hit a button and catch them, just because I don't have to think about it. I can just kind of feel it. So it definitely helps, specifically for execution too. Yeah, finger dexterity, especially going onto a leverless, made it very easy that my left hand's very dexterous. So like I transitioned pretty easily, and it definitely I think helps my execution.
Nice. What about you, John?
I think a lot of like if I'm learning a new combo, for example, right? Like say Sagat just came out recently and I had to run through the trials, and I was like, I've never seen any of this shit before, but I have to do this trial. And what I would do is I'd just break it down into pieces. And that's very similar to like if I want to learn a song, is like you break it down into small pieces, you get really good at playing those small pieces in isolation, and then you string them together. And that's basic combo practice as well.
Oh, nice.
Moving on to the next question. This one's from Honorable. What is your biggest tournament win? Like a set you think is the biggest win for you?
Well, I think I would both consider the Christian and Freezy sets. But before that, going back, I beat Carsonist like a year ago. Carsonist is one of the best hockey players in North America in TNS. I think he was like the 4 seed or something. And I was not bad at the game, but I wasn't particularly great either. But it was like a moment of like, oh, I can't beat these guys. Like, there's a lot of road to cover to get to that level, but I could beat them. So it's very important. set win for me, I think. But I could say the same thing early on about X-Button and Honorable, and at some point I had to beat all you guys. So there was always a milestone, like getting in the top 8, getting in the top 5, getting in top 3, getting first. I don't know. It's never been
true
easy.
Ryu mindset. You're walking to the next battle by the time.
I don't think I've played you in tournament.
No, I don't think so.
You haven't crossed that bridge yet. All right. Did you want to answer that question too, John?
No.
No?
Because there's a thing where it's just like I remember my losses more than my wins. That's a hell of a cop out. But I would say like probably any time that I placed very, very high at a tournament, the match that led me to that placing, I think would be pretty good. Like I as I try to remember like momentous tournament matches, I think more of my losses than my wins. That means anything.
Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I remember a lot of my losses too.
I had more of those as well.
Yeah, those define you more than your wins, I think.
That was like I've talked about this plenty of times, but mine was pretty much back in Street Fighter 4 days with Abe and the B League stuff and the invitationals and stuff that he did, and the aptly named Koala Crier. And I remember the first one that I went to, and I felt confident. I went on stream. You mentioned his name earlier, Dragon Ninja, and I lost to him on stream. I played absolutely dog shit, I think, even looking back on that. And then I tried to make a losers round and ended up coming up short. And I was like, that was probably the most down and disappointed I ever felt in myself playing fighting games. And like, I waited for a whole year to wait for him to announce another one. And I wanted that win so bad. It happened to be on my wedding anniversary. Like I mentioned this in the Discord, actually, like in the last week. And my wife being the great person that she is and being supportive of it, like I didn't have somebody in my ear like, really, you're gonna go play games on our anniversary? It was just like, she knows how important that was to me. And I went out there and like I kind of had like what you mentioned earlier in terms of that mentality where I was like, nobody's fucking beating me today. And like I went through, I didn't lose a single match. And that was like a year. Like I remember going to the back of TGZ and like tearing up a bit because I was just like, holy shit, like I waited a whole year for this and I did it.
Yeah.
And I did it on this day with the support of my wife and everything. I was just like, holy shit, man.
It is a beautiful story that we have told on this podcast. I would say tune into episode 49. This is my cross-promotional thing where you plug another episode, right? Episode 49 is, I believe, that's where we talk a lot about that particular day. I still think about that story that you told me there, Benny. So it's an inspiration for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely my biggest win, I think, for sure. And then, like I said, like there's been a lot of up and downs in competitiveness or in different tournaments and stuff like that. So it's just like, if you think you're gonna sit at the top of the mountaintop, like nah, there's a lot of humbling moments in between all that shit too.
Yeah, but that's what makes the wins feel good, though. Because if you just expect to win, like it still feels good, but it doesn't feel as good as when you like work for it.
Yeah, that's why like I have this big thing against like people that when it comes to like combat sports and they're like protecting their records. But I was like, if you're fighting a bunch of tomato cans and nobody's like is being 30-0 as good as being 45-5, and you came back and was just like, yeah, I want to fight this guy again, and then you beat him. Like to me, that's I got more respect for the people that do that lose and come back and make adjustments in a sense, just like we do in fighting games. Oh yeah, he washed me this first game, but you know what? I won the set, or he put me in losers, but I got my run back in losers finals, and I'm in grand finals now, not him.
The run back always feels better than just beating someone, I think. Overcoming, like a universal story, you always want to watch the story of someone overcoming something. You don't care to watch the story of someone born on top and staying on top, so I think it's a universal experience.
Yeah. All right, and then the last question, I guess this is from Cheese for everyone. What excites you the most about our local scene? And then also, which characters do you want to see added to Street Fighter 6 if your favorite hasn't already been added? So first question, what excites you the most about our local scene?
I think that for most of the last year, I was just happy playing in tournaments, then getting food with with people, my own growth. But I think recently there's been a lot of new folks coming into the scene and like taking it seriously, which is really like, I think fired me up, because I'm like, I wanted to help them get better, but also I don't want them to ever fucking beat me. So that means I got to get better too. Right. So that I'm excited that it's year 3 and there's still new faces and people that are passionate about the game, or finding their passion, or finding the competitiveness, or, I think AZ Young is a good example of this a little bit in the past, where he was always a good player, I think, but he works so hard. He asks for advice, he listens to it, he goes and he works, and then like seeing what he's done in the last like 6 months has been, brings tears to my eye at Evo, and like he's like winning after how he felt about Texas Showdown, and he made it to day 2, and it's like I was happier about that than my own fucking play. So keeping that up, I think is my answer there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had a friend, I think it was the last year Street Fighter 4, and like all of my friends from Alaska except for one didn't make it out of pools, but I was elated for my one friend that did, and like we were cheering him on like no other, because he was like our last hope, and it was just like he was playing so well that first day and throughout, and that was a beautiful thing. Yeah, I was gonna say before let John answer real quick, was the this whatever's on the vid right now was throwing me off, because I happened to look up at the Twitch channel, and then I see the other player cam of you, so there's 2 of you on the one side of the screen, and I'm just like, hold up.
Double shog.
Oh, you're in trouble. I think Devil Me could beat most players.
One hand, like one person uses the left hand and one person does the right hand.
Yeah.
Go Archon mode.
Oh man.
My answer about what excites me the most about our local scene, it is you. And I'm not going to say the community, but I'm saying specifically Cheese, in that the interaction that I had with you last Friday, as far as like trading stories, hearing that some of the tips that I gave you worked out, to hear that, you and I share a similar profession. I love that I can make a one-on-one connection with people in our scene, and we have a lot of like-minded people, a lot of like-minded players. We approach, in a lot of ways, fighting games are a form of inflicting adversity on yourself and then overcoming it, and to be able to make connections with people while we overcome those adversities together, I think that's why I keep doing this. So yeah, I would also say the same about some of the other people that I've built relationships with in the past. The person that comes to mind the most right now is Chase, where he and I just think so similarly, and the fact that I got to meet him as part of this hobby is one of the greatest gifts I think that the community, or that fighting games, has given me. So
my general answer is pretty much, it's always been kind of the community aspect, and just the people, like ever since I came into the scene, like I always felt like this is where I belong. Like I found lifelong friends here, from Alaska to here, and it's just like this is just where I need to be. Like,
yeah.
And then the other question was, which characters do you want to see added to Street Fighter 6 if your favorite hasn't already been added?
So
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't really have any, like I said, I was a former Honda main. I'm a Sim main now. I've since graduated and aged gracefully to playing Sim. I don't really have any characters that I really care to see in 6. Like every time they do announcements, I'm like, cool. I was just like, how am I gonna deal with this? Or what are they gonna add to the game? Or what are they gonna change the game? And how do I deal with this with my character? Because I don't see myself changing. I might play them on the side, get them to master or whatever, but I'm a Sim main, and that's where it's going to be.
Yeah, I think C Viper was someone in Street Fighter 4 that I read about and try to figure out, and I just didn't understand the game enough to do anything. So I am kind of excited. I don't think that I will main her, but now that I know how the game works, I'm curious to see if I can make something like that work. But I'm kind of in the same boat that there's no one that I think would really move me off Cammy. I played some Dudley in Street Fighter 4 as well, so I think that could be fun. But I honestly would rather see some new characters than returning ones. I think I'd be more interested to play a new character than a returning one. I think.
Yeah. What about you, Jon?
I kind of echo your guys' opinion in that, like, I don't want to have to learn another matchup. A lot of games have 50 characters, and as I've gotten older and more competitive, even, I don't like learning new matchups. I like to focus on the stuff that's already there. And frankly, all the characters that I care about are already in the game. I played Ibuki in Street Fighter 4, so it would be cool to see her come back. But I don't know what she's gonna do compared to what all the other characters in this game already do.
Bomb setups.
Yeah, but Kim's got the right. So I'm kind of just like I'm good. People hate Ibuki, or like I would like to see Yun, but I think I'm like one of 4 people on the planet.
But didn't Ibuki have that giant, like the shuriken that she could throw out?
Yeah.
Or am I thinking of somebody else?
She did in one. I forget if it was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was her V-Trigger too.
Yeah.
Godlike.
Okay. Oh man.
Well, I think that's the end of our list of questions here.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do some housekeeping here on the last legs of our episode here. I know we're kind of close to time. I said that's also a meeting in corporate America. we're almost at time, guys. But I feel like I owe the audience an explanation for where we've been, not just for the past 2 months, not just for the past year, but also straight up for the past 2 years. And this ties into the fact that I have quit social media by and large. Like, I'm still on the Discord and everything, but even that's taken some time for me to come back and start talking through again. A lot of this has to do with the fact that I was working a pretty bad job for roughly around, not even earlier this year, but last year as well, in that I had a pretty toxic relationship with my boss at the time. And what I found was that, and this is dirt, I guess, or gossip or whatever you want to call it. What I found is that he was looking into this particular podcast and needling me about it at work. A lot of it's like, you should be working, like that inherent, like you should be working instead of doing this stuff, that made me really, that experience, I think Shog, you kind of brought it up earlier in the show in regards to, like, there's situations that happen that force you to grow up really quickly, right? And to me, it was like, okay, it's a feeling of paranoia almost that this guy's kind of out to get me. So the ending of that particular story with the work is that he left the company pretty quickly afterwards, and then I had a different boss, and then we moved on, and eventually I left the company altogether. But that paranoia I found echoed into everything in my life, whether that's the fighting game, specifically the competition, where it was at the point where I was like, is this person going to beat me today? Is this person going to beat me today? And what kind of personality am I putting out there or projecting out there, and can it be used against me? And that has then brought up a lot of feelings about, like, this particular show and why I do this show, why I've been putting myself out there as a personality, posting on social media, because I go back and listen to some of the old podcast episodes, and I spoke with a degree of authority that I don't think I earned. And there is just an inherent part of this medium as a podcast where the three of us are talking and we are saying things from the heart, and you as the audience are listening to this right now, and at its core there is an authority that I project as someone talking to you, that you can listen to and then take what I hear and then do what you want with it. And over time I just found, again, this ties into the music thing, this ties into the getting older thing, it just hit a certain point where I was just like, I don't have anything to say anymore. because one, it could be used against me, but then two, it's like, you know, I could talk about frame advantage on certain normals and stuff, but you can go to Twitter for that, or you can go to Brian F's YouTube channel, which is probably my favorite fighting game channel. Like, there's plenty of other places to take some of this information. And I struggled with, like, what do I have to say? I landed on, like, you know what? I care about a very, very small group of people in the scene, and I just want to say it directly to them. So why bother putting it out on the internet too? And I thought that was a good enough reason for a long time. I also just look at, like, podcasting as a medium and the flaws of how it's impacted society, and whether or not I wanted to contribute to that cacophony. And what I found after doing a lot of that soul searching, particularly after even saying that message to my training partners, being like, because they would ask, like, when's the podcast coming back? I'm like, I don't want to do the podcast because I could just tell you. But I have seen, and I actually credit Elijah for this, AZ Young for this, is I have seen what it means to a lot of people to be on this show. I'm not trying to toot our own horn here or anything like that, but just, like, I see what I was trying really hard not to do is be like, oh, I'm doing this for the community and you guys are, you know, you guys are awesome, and therefore, like, we just want to just do it for the, like, I've seen so many fake versions of that in the scene nowadays, because I'm also, like, grappling with the fact that our fighting game community has been co-opted by capitalist sensibilities, and it's not a community anymore, it's a market. We are the market. And the journey that I've gone on there is that this all ties back into Cheese's question, which is, if I'm going to do this and if I don't have anything to say anymore, then what's my reason? And I still think back on those individual connections, and there's got to be a way to do that without just holding myself up and pretending that I don't exist and watching. Again, I got it in my head that I'm like, I'm not the main character anymore, and, you know, it's Freezy's time, it's Chase's time, it's Christian's time, but I see what we have to offer to Elijah, to Cheese, to people, everybody who submitted these questions today. And that's part of the reason why I asked, is that we can make this about you guys. And I think that's where I want to go in the future for this. We started with, like, chronicling the history of the fighting game community, and then it turned into, like, a masturbation session where I could talk about the beta and talk about Street Fighter game knowledge and what it takes to be a competitor and stuff like that. But where I land now, and this is important that I say where I land now, because in a year I could look back on this and be like, man, that guy was fucking stupid, and there's a better reason to do it. But knowing that I can at least make a difference in some people's lives close to me. I don't need the followers. I don't want the fame anymore. And I say anymore because I definitely did chase that shit. I chased the dopamine. If there's a way that I can do that with pulling my ego out of this and instead just platforming you guys, I think that's my path forward for continuing this. So
I think that echoes a lot. We talked briefly in, like, down when we were in Tucson, I think, about it, not fighting game related, but, like, you can't save the world or impact the world like you might think you can when you're younger, but you certainly can impact your friends and community members. And I think it's important to do that. And it's a good thing to see, because I do agree, like, don't chase the dopamine. I fall in that trap sometimes too, and I'm just talking to hear myself talk and see numbers go up, and I'm catching myself of, I'd rather have these authentic connections with people than perform for the masses. But I think you could find the audience here too, that this isn't necessarily trying, you know, this format doesn't have to be nationwide. It can very much be a community thing that's important and beneficial to people.
I got to see that at your show, man. Like, your show was a matinee show, and it was because it was so early in the day, like, families were welcome, and you got to play for your family. I got to meet your dad.
Yeah.
like it's that's not a followers, Instagram, Twitter bullshit thing. That is, like, actual human connection and you sharing something with all of us, including sharing your family with me, essentially. So, yeah, grassroots, man, actual grassroots, not.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Not, I think it's great, like what you just talked about, John, because like we, like, you know, between me and you and doing this pod, like we haven't even had a chance to kind of discuss like where we're going or, you know, that kind of stuff amongst ourselves. It was kind of just like, hey, do
We
you
had
want
a
to start
nebulous
things
goal
back
of
up?
100 episodes.
Yeah, like who do you want to talk to and stuff like that? Because like when I did this initially, like, or when I thought about, you know, starting this up, and like, you know, I had you in mind to be the co-host, like, you know, just from a technical aspect and just from, you know, knowing you as a person. And my thing was always like, I always wanted it, like, it wasn't necessarily for me like I want this to blow up and I'm going to be this FGC historian, this kind of shit. It was more like I want to talk to people, I want to learn about those people, where they come from. And I always felt like that was the kind of thing that years from now, like if I look back on this, I can be like, hey, that shogberg guy, this is the guy that, you know, I used to play Cammy back on our scene and he's doing this now with his life. But you can go back to this and come back and find out about him. Like that's something that you can always go back on, kind of like, you know, like a biography, autobiography about somebody. You can always find out about that person, their origins and their life. And like, you know, we could talk about the current Twitter whatever or EWC or whatever, but like that kind of stuff is like very, very niche, and it's at the moment, at the time. Like that's going to be something like, yeah, we can reflect on, you know, what we saw during that tournament, but it's like, for me, it was always about like the people and like learning about the people in our scene. And like I know sometimes like the younger people, it's a little different because they don't have like the history in the scene that we can discuss with them versus like somebody like a Driftwood or a Saber, those kind of people that, you know, we've known for years or have been in the scene for years. But like I think it's still important to talk to those younger people, get their perspectives, find out why they're in the community in the first place. Because for me, like growing up, like I would have never found this community just because I was more sheltered within my home and not really going out. Like I played in the arcades, but like I would have never been like, hey mom, can I go to this place and play in this tournament? Like that wasn't something during my time. Whereas now it's like you can go to a con and find people like, you know, the X Button, somebody that's trying to cultivate a community and trying to bring people in and say, hey, do you want to be more competitive? And, you know, we have a community of people that, you know, if you want to get better, you want to really get into this, like we can help you and help that grow.
Yeah. Just also shout outs to like the supportive parents in the local scene too. Like I like you and Mary for sure, but I've also, have you ever hung out with Flappy's dad or Freezy's mom? Like they're so supportive of their kids, and we live in that era now. So why not be a part of that solution, you know, or why not be part of that strategy of cultivating the next generation? So I'm kind of overlooking at the past, and I'm excited to look at the future.
Yeah, no. Like,
for those who come after, right?
I really love where this went to in terms of like I was literally just talking to John a few days ago. I was thinking like it was literally within the hour. I was going to reach out to him personally and be like, hey, I think we should post in the Discord and see if we can get some questions beforehand, you know, just to kind of help guide us. And then he literally posted that in the Discord without talking to me, and I'm just like, dude, like we're on the same fucking page. Like I put up the meme of Arnold Schwarzenegger and I was like, we're on the same page. Right? Yeah. So like, yeah, this is great, man.
Yeah, and that's another thing here is that another reason why I want to selfishly keep doing this is I can maintain a relationship with you specifically, Benny. And this is a brilliant thing that we've built together, and I hope that, I don't know, man, I'm not super interested in stopping at 100 anymore. Obviously, we got to make sure that we don't spend another 3 months not doing anything, and that, like we got to actually start this up again. But I want to now, I think. Cool.
Before we close out, any shout outs for you, Shog?
Just everyone that shows up. I mean, day in, day out. It's very inspiring to hang out with driven people that, you know, want to get better, and whether that's Street Fighter or anything. Like I just kind of feel that way. And shout out to the general community, and shout out to my partner Kim, who is very supportive of me spending a lot of time doing this. but it's important, I think, and she understands, especially from seeing locals. I think after realizing it's face to face and like not just staring into a screen. So those are my shout outs.
Like real people out here, a bunch of nerds.
Cool. Well, this has been the Absolute Guard Podcast, episode 94 with Jon, Benny, and Shog. You can find us on Twitch I read this script every time hoping to accrue followers, and that's kind of the opposite of the message that I had at the end of the show. So if you're listening already, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you tune back in for the next one. Have a good night, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye, guys.